Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. And so tonight in the news, we should get the update for this. It was revealed a little while ago from Kawaii and some of the other data miners that a new Dragon Ball Heroes event was coming to Global on the 17th. I say new, but it's most likely going to be this one that you see here with Golden Cooler. Now, there was a little bit of discussion that it wasn't 100% confirmed that it was going to be this set of units. So there technically is still the very slim chance that it could be something different and therefore potentially global exclusive. But I think it's kind of unlikely. It's more than likely going to be this. But I guess we're going to find out. We should see that in the news update, which will probably be somewhere around 4 hours or so after this video goes live. But we're going to talk about this banner and whether or not I think you should summon on it. I mean, short answer, if that's all you came for, then yes. Unless you're free to play, then I guess maybe not. But we're going to go into that in more detail. And obviously, I'm definitely interested to know what you guys think in the comments down below. So, this was the banner. We had all these new units here. 6 new units, all featured. We've got the Great Ape Cumber. Well, he awakens to Great Ape Cumber. That's not his summonable form. But we got a Great Ape Cumber, Adult Gotenks. We got Gohanks or Gohunks. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, which is, of course, Gohan and Trunks fusion. Then we've got, is it Vegex or Vegex, which is Vegeta and Trunks. Then we got Fu, Golden Cooler. And then featured on the banner is the Supreme Opie of Time and the Zeno Super Saiyan 3s, because they both get Dokkan Awakenings when these units release. Now, this is a big thing for Global, because when we got the Our First Heroes banner, these 3 units were just part of the overall package that were in the banner but were unfeatured, which meant it was very difficult to actually get copies of them. I think I did somewhere around 600 stones on that banner, and I got 1 Vegeta but did not get Goku or Supreme Kai of Time. So the fact that they're featured on this banner, I would say adds a massive amount of value, because all 3 of them are very, very good units, and the Goku easily, with his awakening, easily rivals some Dokkan Fest exclusives. So we're going to go ahead and talk about all the units. One briefing we are going to go over. So most of the new units, well, I guess it's mainly just Fu and the awakenings for these guys, and then there's a free-to-play Cumber from a story event. They are the leaders of a Dragon Ball Heroes category that gets added with this update. If you look down the list here, it is literally just all of the Dragon Ball Heroes cards. So you've got the couple of free-to-play ones from the story events, but basically every single unit that you could potentially pull off of this banner, because bear in mind, the only SSRs on the banner are the Heroes units. And then, of course, there's the normal pool of SRs, because there aren't really any Heroes SRs. So it's a little bit of a shame. They definitely missed the trick, even though they're not technically specifically from Heroes. I really feel like units like Super Saiyan 3 Broly and like Mars Saiyan and stuff should have been on here, but unfortunately they're not. Still a very interesting and very fun team. There's a lot of crossover with time travelers as well, so there's a lot of stuff you can do with this team. But let's go over the units. So we'll go over the awakenings first. Zeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku picks up the Heroes category, or Super STR types 3 key 100%. You're not really going to use him for his leader skill, but he does immense damage with a high chance to stun, which is 50%. So very, very good for a stunner. You imagine this guy linked up with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, the STR, and you've got a powerhouse tanking stunning combo, because he gets 100% defense and guard activated against all attacks, like guaranteed. There's none of this like chance to guard against all attacks, it's guaranteed. Then he gets an additional 50% attack when performing a super. Damage received minus 7% per Heroes category ally on the team. Now, this is one of the things that was added with his awakening, because obviously they added the Heroes category. But even if you just have him, say you have him on a Super Saiyan 3 team with no other Heroes characters, these kind of passives always include themselves. So with 100% defense, guard active against all attacks, and then 7% damage reduction, like, he's already ridiculous. And so on an actual Heroes team, where he has 35% damage reduction, like, he's just going to take no damage from anyone, which is awesome. And he's obviously got really good links, and of course he's on teams like Goku Family and Kamehameha, which makes him super useful for a load of different Super Battle Road stages. So honestly, for me, I would say it's worth dropping a couple of multis on this banner if you can spare the stones, literally just in case you can get this guy, because he is that good. So then we go on to the Vegeta, who unfortunately, whilst being good, is nowhere near as good. He has the same leader skill but for super physical, and then his super greatly raises attack for 1 turn, does immense damage and greatly lowers defense. Nothing really special there. He'll be able to hit some good numbers because of the greatly raises attack. And then his passive, he also gets 100% attack and defense. He disables enemies' guard, which can be useful in certain events, but not necessarily that great. And then attack and defense and chance of performing a critical hit plus 7% per hero's category ally up to 35%. So similar to the Goku, but this increases his attack and defense and natural crit chance, which is cool because he's a physical unit. So you can prioritize additionals in his hidden potential system, and then he's going to get this bonus chance to crit. Now, with compared to the Goku, if you have him on a Super Saiyan 3 team, for example, with no other heroes units, he's only getting 7% attack and defense and a 7% chance to crit, which is not quite as good as 7% damage reduction. But on a heroes team, 35%, that's extra attack and defense, and a 35% chance to crit is very, very good. And then he also gets the 50% when performing a super. So both of those units, super hard hitters, obviously linked up together on the same team, they would be absolutely ridiculous, especially because they both activate these parts of their heroes passives. So they are both very, very good. Then we go on to Supreme Kai of Time, who is a support unit. She massively raises defense for 1 turn and seals super attacks, so she's going to be quite useful on Super Battle Road. Any support unit that can beef up their own defense is obviously very useful, so you can avoid taking max damage with them. But her support passive is all allies key +3, attack and defense 30%, so that alone is very good. A lot of units in the game that give like 30 or 40% to attack and defense often don't give key as well. So 3 key and 30% is very good. She also gives them a chance of performing critical hit plus 12%. Now, bear in mind these are calculated separately. So if your unit has level 20 crit, which is 40%, this doesn't give them 52% chance to crit. It will trigger the two separately, which is cool because 12% is still very reasonable. Then she also has great chance of an additional attack 12% for all allies and great chance of additional defense 12%, which is 70% chance for each additional boost to activate. So if you get the right RNG, which is not necessarily hard because 70% is a very reasonable chance, then she's actually going to be giving 42% attack and defense and 3 key and 12% chance to crit, which technically makes her better than Turles. And she massively raises her defense. So her rainbowed on like a Realm of Gods team, for example, she's actually going to be able to hold her own because obviously her support buff applies to herself. So all 3 of these awakenings are super good, and Global, like I said at the start, kind of got a little bit screwed over with the previous Heroes banner because these 3 units were not featured, so a lot of people like myself did not manage to pull them. So I think the 3 awakenings for these units, the fact that they're featured, are worth a couple of pulls on the banner alone. But let's go on to the new units. So we have Fu, or Super Fu. He is the full heroes leader. He has the highest heroes category leader skill, 3 key and 130%. So not the beefiest category in the game, but still very good. He raises attack and defense for 1 turn, causes immense damage, and seals super attacks. So he is actually the hardest hitting sealer in the game. Previously it was Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, but obviously he only has a chance to seal supers, whereas Fu 100% seals supers, does immense damage and raises his attack for the turn. So he can hit insanely hard, as well as the fact that he seals the enemy as well. And the reason he can hit so hard is not just the immense damage, attack and defense 150% when performing a super attack. So he's one of those units you want him to super before he's getting hit, because he doesn't get a defensive boost otherwise. He gets key +1 up to 4 and chance of evading enemies attack including supers plus 10% up to 40 per time travelers category ally on the team. So as long as you have 4 time travelers category allies, he's going to get 4 extra key and 40% chance to dodge. So bearing in mind, like I said, the heroes category has a lot of crossover with time travelers, or you can just run him on the time travelers team with In Goku Black or STR Trunks and Mai. So all of these things added together make him insanely good. Immense damage, guaranteed seal, 150% attack and defense, 4 extra ki, and 40% chance to dodge. Like, he is very, very good. I do love that we're into this sort of era now where they can bring out these random heroes units and they actually are ridiculously good. So Fu is definitely a card that I'm hoping to pull. Along with our boy, finally in the game. Something, I've said this many times on the channel, I've always been a fan of Final Form Cooler. So literally, like a lot of other people, as soon as Golden Frieza first became a thing with the release of Resurrection of F, I've wanted to see Golden Final Form Cooler. And so he will finally be on Global. He's not the strongest card in the world, like he's not as good as Fu or probably even the Zeno Super Saiyan 3s, but he is very good. He raises attack and causes immense damage to the enemy, so he infinitely stacks his attack in longer events, which is cool. He gets attack and defense 100%, which is definitely very reasonable. He also gives all allies ki +2 and attack and defense 20%, so he's a good unit and also has a support passive built in. Plus an additional attack and defense plus 30% and launches an additional attack that has a medium chance, 25% of becoming a super attack, with another 3 or more heroes category allies on the team. So this is the one part that I think kind of lets him down a little bit, because I was obviously hoping, as I'm sure a lot of people were, that when we finally got a Golden Cooler he would be very good on the Wicked Bloodline team. But of course that means you are not going to get this extra part of his passive activated. But on a heroes team, he's now getting this extra 30% attack and defense and a guaranteed additional that has a chance to become a super, which then of course, as we know, units that get built-in additionals, they have a slightly higher chance of triggering additionals from their hidden potential as well. So on the right team build, he has the potential to super attack 3 times in one turn, and of course each time he super attacks he raises his attack. So if you manage to get that lucky 3 supers, that third super attack is going to do a fair bit more damage than the first one. And then other than that, he has very typical sort of cooler links. He is on full power, which is very cool. And then obviously he's on Wicked Bloodline, but he's also on Transformation Boost. And of course Time Travelers, because like I said, these two categories are very, very similar. So the other main big banner new card is the Great Ape Cumber. He does immense damage to the enemy and greatly lowers attack and defense. Greatly lowers attack and defense. Very, very good for Super Battle Road. This unit in and of itself is very good for Super Battle Road, because his passive, 2 ki, attack and defense 150%, very good. Then he has a high chance of stunning all super class enemies after receiving attack, which is 40%. So what that means is, when he gets hit, he has a 40% chance of stunning all of the super class enemies when he gets hit, and that's for each hit as well. So on Super Battle Road, what that means is, if you jump into, say, the Extreme Only stage, where you fight Goten and Trunks in the first stage, Goten can hit you at the start, trigger that passive, and then that's it. They're both stunned for the whole of the rest of the turn, so you don't have to take any attacks. So that is incredibly good. Like, he's going to be very useful for Super Battle Road. He then also has a high chance of turning into a Great Ape when HP is 50% or less. So he's not one of those ones that is completely random. You have some control over his transformation. Now, the high chance is 50%. So if you drop below 50%, it's still not guaranteed. So you can work around it if you don't want the transformation. But his transformation is actually very good. Now, obviously he does good damage. Like, the apes have their own sort of damage modifier, destructive damage, but his passive, he gives himself 2 ki. Now this is real big, because any of you who've used Great Ape units will know that once you transform and don't have any key links active, you need to pick up 6 orbs, or 3 of the right colour, to actually be able to super attack, which sometimes can be quite tricky. So the fact that he gives himself 2 ki, it means all 3 of those Great Ape attacks on each turn that he's transformed, you only need to get 4 ki with him, which is obviously very, very good. So he is a very good unit. Even without his ape form, he's very good. And then just to show here, his summonable form is just the normal Cumber, which means you can actually farm his super attack from the story event that drops, because there is a free-to-play base form Cumber. So very quickly, because I don't want the video to go on too long, we're going to gloss over the other 3 units that are featured, only because these 3 are probably the worst out of the bunch. So they'll still be good to add to your collection. They're definitely not terrible units, but they're not the ones you want to go for. So the adult Gotenks does supreme damage, lowers attack and defense. He gets 70% attack and defense, and then an extra 20% with each super performed up to 80%. So he can definitely build his stats up to a decent amount. And then he launches an additional super attack when the target is sealed, which is cool because obviously it's kind of a theme with Gotenks units that we have in the game that they seal, like physical Super Saiyan Gotenks, for example. So they would work very well on the same team. Then we have the Vegeta fusion. He infinitely stacks his defense, so obviously good for the legendary Goku event. He gets attack and defense 70% when performing a super, chance of performing a critical hit plus 7% with each super performed up to 35%. So that's also very good. It means you can prioritize additionals with his hidden potential, which you kind of want to do anyway because he has the infinite stack. So having a built-in ability to crit is really, really good. And then he launches an additional super when the target is in attack down or defense down. So as you can see, a lot of these three last units are kind of made to work together because they have passives that play off of each other's abilities. Because this Gotenks lowers attack and defense. This guy gets the chance to perform extra supers when the enemy has their attack or defense lowered. This guy has the extra super if the enemy is sealed. And then we have the Gohanks. He seals enemies, and then he has the additional super when the target is in attack down as well. So he's very similar to the other unit of those three. Attack and defense 70%, additional 20% with each super up to 80%, and then launches an additional super when the target enemy is in attack down. So him and this Gotenks are basically designed to go side by side, which is very cool, especially because they are both on the fusions team. Whereas, of course, the Vegeta is a Patara fusion of Vegeta and Trunks. So those three are very good. I'm really interested to try this guy out on the Fusion Super Battle Road, because obviously the first fight is against two tech enemies. Having a sealer is obviously always useful on Super Battle Road. And then, of course, a lot of the Gogeta units lower attack, which means you're going to be able to get this extra additional part of his passive fairly easily on the Fusion team. So there you go. So overall, that is the banner. I don't think it will be changed at all. Obviously, like I said at the start, there's a slim possibility that this isn't actually the banner that we're going to get, but I think it is. And if you hadn't guessed already, my overall conclusion would be that yes, I definitely think this banner is worth summoning on. Now, if you are completely free to play, then you have to bear in mind that we have things like STR Cooler Dokkan Fest coming up sometime within the next 2 months. One of the best TURs in the game. A banner that I absolutely recommend people summon on. So if you're free to play and low on stones, then I guess you could skip. I mean, if you're that kind of player, you kind of have to skip a lot of banners. So it's probably no surprise to say that I would recommend skipping. Maybe drop one multi, because you never know. Obviously, you're going to get one of the featured units guaranteed, and then if you get lucky and get any bonus SSRs in that multi, they're all going to be heroes units anyway. But for people like me, who are whales, who spend on the game fairly regularly, I would definitely recommend summoning on the banner. I'm going to go in pretty hard. I'm probably going to have around 800 stones when the banner drops, so I will probably use all of them on this banner and see what we can come out with on the other side. So let me know down below, what do you think of the units? Are you going to summon? How deep are you going to go? Obviously, we're going to find out in the news in the next few hours exactly what is happening. I believe there's a maintenance, so none of the stuff will drop until after the maintenance is actually finished, but I guess we have to wait and see. So like I said, let me know down below what you guys think. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.